this morning. This is an International House World Organization live online workshop as part of the Younger Learner Conference 2015, which, as I've said, is for my Toddesfeld with us. Although our workshop today is coming from Alena Chigrinova.
Right.
She's going to be talking about the Feast Guardians. And so without further ado, I shall hand you over to Alena. Thank you very much, Alena, for sharing with us today. And thank you all very much for coming. Enjoy the workshop. And I'll see you at the end. Over to you, Alena.
Okay. Thank you, Neil, for the introduction and for your support. First of all, I'd like to say that I'm very glad to have a chance of giving the online experience. And I'm a bit nervous, but for sure I'm very excited. And first of all, I'd like to introduce myself. So I'm a teacher of English and I work with young learners mostly. I have been working in a school linguist since 2011 as ADOS of YLE department. And working in a team of talented teachers, we create board games that help our students to improve their language skills and to prepare for the Cambridge exams. But the first step was in the camps. On holidays, I take part in the role play camps as a group leader and nowadays more often as a coordinator of the English. And one day we decided that English lessons in the camp sounds a bit boring. We decided to create a board game that could help us to teach our students to use their language skills in the daily life. So, and after that, we decided to apply our experience to the YLE classrooms. And I have one question before we start talking about Feast Guardians. Have you ever used the board games? Can you please type in the chat something about your experience? Okay. Okay, I see that some of you used Okay. Right. Okay, well done. Right. Okay, thank you for sharing your experience. So today I'm going to tell you and do my best. I'll do my best to explain how the Feast Guardians works in the class. Relying on the experience of playing different board games, so we created the Feast Guardians board game, which is separated into 4 parts. All the parts are connected with the holidays that we usually celebrate in the class. And the first was for the Halloween. We traveled through the pumpkin wheel. So then on Christmas, we traveled through the snowland. And we're also planning to create 2 board games for the Easter, which is now in process, and the great final game for the students, because in the end of the academic year, they have a kind of graduation party. And we are planning to create the board game with some open air activities. So this is the Feast Guardians. They consist of. Well, before we move to the next slide, I would like to ask you about your ideas of any advantages of using the board games. Can you see any advantages of using the board games in the class? Right. That's a great motivation for students. Fun. Yeah, nice. Okay. For sure, they're student-centered, right? Okay. Very nice ideas. Good job. Okay, let's move to the next slide. So when we started to work on the first board game, my daughter So she asked me about the purpose of using the board games. And creating the tasks for the students, I realized that there are lots of advantages. The first one, the board game helps us to develop all kinds of language skills, the listening, the reading, the speaking skills, and also the writing. Usually it depends on the kind of tasks that you prepare for the students. And I can say the students have to speak during the board game. They speak to each other. They follow teachers' instructions, and they read the tasks and they do the tasks. So also the board games prepare for the Cambridge exams or all kinds of exams that your students prefer taking. We create the task based on the format of the exam to let us get used kind of task they can have during the exam. The board games can include some of the team building tasks to make a good rapport with your students. And of course, the board games help us to revise the learning materials, everything that we have learned during the year. Some more kind of board games can also help the teacher to define the learner's type. So it's easy for us to understand who's the leader of the group. Some students with the visual learners, some kinesthetic learners, and so on. And of course, I read some of your ideas that it is a real fun. And I would say that it is a very important, it's a very essential thing because our students demand the fun all the time. Can you agree with some of the advantages? Okay. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Daniela. Okay, good. Thank you all. So let's move to the next slide. So today I'd like to present you the Feast Guardians game, and today we're talking about the first part, the Halloween. So let's have a look at the language aim of the board game. So before you start playing the board game, it's better to present the vocabulary related on topic holidays and especially Halloween. By the end of the game, students will have practiced the parts of the body by describing the Halloween creatures, and they also will have practiced the Halloween vocabulary by giving the definitions of some of the words or acting out them. And moreover, students will be provided with the practice of the functional language because according to some of the tasks, they create their own comics. As for the aim of the game, so the students are to read the book and travel through the map, and with the main aim to find the pieces of the magic amulet and bring it to the door. So this board game is We try the board game with the students of 9 and 10 years old, but some of my colleagues played this game with teenagers. But I would say that the age is not very important. More important is the language level. You should start with the students of level A1, but you can try with the students of level A2 also. And if you simplify the language of the book and the tasks, you can even try this board game with the starters. So the length of the game is about 90 minutes. You shouldn't do it longer because it will be, for your students, they could be tired of the game. So 90 minutes is enough. So how to work with the groups? So I would say that according to our experience, it's better to divide the students into groups of 3 or 4, especially if you have the class up to 12 students. Because when you have more than 4 students in a group, sometimes they can fall out of the plot of the story and they easily get bored. But if you have the group of 4 or 5 students, you can play with the whole class. As I did with one of my groups, they played against me. It was a kind of angry witch, and they were to be the first to find the amulet. And the master of the game. Have you got any ideas who's the master of the game? Could it be a student? Okay. A stronger one. Could be. Okay. Huh? winner. Nice ideas. Okay, you have very nice ideas, but the master of the game is the teacher. And the master of the game should be aware of all the rules and the plot and the legend of the game, because only the teacher gives the task and monitors the students. So during the board game, the students call the teacher the master of the game. Okay, so now let's have a look at the shot description of their board game. So we have got the door between the worlds. So this is the magic door between our world and the world of magic. We have got the magic amulet that is inside the door that helps us to keep the door open to let the holidays come into our world. We have got the letter from Ben and Lucy. You can see the two kids on the picture. They are taken from our course book. And there are also two berries, which we call Horrocks and Zelda. They are also taken from our course book, Supermind. read, and we have the map of pumpkin wheel. Okay. Now, I would like to present you the stages of the game. I divided the game into 4 stages. And first, we are going to look at the key information that we get from the letter. Then we'll look at the magic book, how we can get the task clear. Then we'll travel through the magic map. And the 4th one is the secret one. I'm going to tell you about some motivational scrolls. Let's move to the first stage. So the first stage is the letter from Ben and Lucy. I usually print it out and I make it a kind of surprise for the kids. So one day they can find it on the way to the office, or I can ask the receptionist coming to the class and bring the envelope with the letter. Or sometimes with some of my groups, we have the community in one of the social nets. And I put the letter from Ben and Lucy on the main page. And when they come into the class, they say, "Oh my God, teacher, we got the letter from Ben and Lucy." And they're very surprised and excited. So now let's go to the key information that you can get from the letter. So as I have already said, there are 2 kids, Ben and Lucy. They love adventure, they love traveling. And they always find kind of treasure or ancient things like artifacts, statues, maps, letters. And there are also Horace and Zelda, 2 baddies, who want to kill all joy, who want to stop the holiday. And they stole the amulet from the door between the worlds, and they broke it into 4 pieces. Then they hid the amulet in different places of pumpkin wheel. And if we want to have the Halloween, we have to help Ben and Lucy to find these 4 pieces of amulet and put it into the door between the walls. Okay. So now let's have a look at the magic book. The magic book is a kind of guide of the game. Students read the book and they follow its instructions. They find the tasks there, and the book helps them to choose the route of traveling through the map. But what is important that the book every time gives the choice to students. So each page says, will they help someone or will they go and travel through the map? So if you play in 4 or 3 groups, if you divide your class into 3 or 4 groups, it's better to give each group the book. They can make some notes or make the marks or underline some key information that they find in the book. Also in the book, students find the tasks. They find a kind of instruction for the tasks, but then the master of the game gives them the template and everything that they need to fill in or to do. And the key information. The key information in the book is usually underlined or highlighted for the students to remember. But when they read the book, it is very important for the master of the game to discuss all the information the students get from the book. Now let's have a look at some of the pages. For example, the very first page. When you play the game with the whole class, you better start reading together with the students to show them a kind of model how to work with the book. So if you look at the very first page, so this page is called Pumpkinville. You are on the main square of Pumpkinville town. Here all year round live and celebrate Halloween characters from scary stories and tales. Witches, ghosts, vampires, and werewolves. You can meet a lot of unusual creatures here. And the king of Halloween, Jack Pumpkinhead. So he himself welcomes you. He is a big fan of games and jokes. He says, "Who is here? Don't let them go anywhere until they introduce themselves. Yeah, and hurry up." So as you can see, what should students do right now? Can you type on the chat? What should they do now? Right. So they have to introduce themselves, yeah? You can give them 2 or 3 minutes to think of the name of their team and a kind of introduction. When they introduced themselves, we can go to the next page. So you can see the last line here. When you introduce yourself to Jack, go to page 10, right? So let's go to page 10. So this is the page 10 from the book. You see that Jack is happy. Now you are true Halloween guests. You see that he is ready to answer all your questions. Remember why you are here and tell the King Jack about it. You might get helpful advice. So now the students have to recap all the information that they got from the letter. And as the master of the game, the teacher should discuss the information that they remember and maybe to give the students some hints if they're not aware of some of the facts. So if you told your story to Jack, you go to page 20. And page 20 says, now you can go to the map and you can travel through the map. Okay? Have you got any question after the introduction of the magic book? Okay. Right. Okay. Very good. Not all is okay. Uh-huh. So, I mean, have you got any questions? Yeah, as for the Halloween vocabulary, right. So you'd better present all the Halloween vocabulary before you start playing the game, because the students should be aware of all the vocabulary. Okay. Okay, right. Right, okay. So let's move to the next slide. What should students ask? The students, okay, so the students read the book and they find some of the information about the tasks. And when they are ready to do the tasks, so they are to decide, are they going to, for example, are they doing to help the creature or not? If they are ready to help the creature in the book, they go to the master and ask for the task. So they say, "Master, can you give us the task? We want to help the creature." So these are the questions that the students may ask. Okay? Right. Okay, now let's move to the next slide. So here is stage 3. And we're going to travel through the map now. So here you can see the place. That you can find on the map. There is a pumpkin wheel, haunted house, ancient elm, windmill, the headless horseman, witch's hut, necropolis, dead head tavern, mad professor's tower, and the door between the worlds. So on the map, the students travel, and in these places,
thank you very much,
they
Alena.
can find different tasks.
Great stuff. Oh,
and there are 3 types of tasks. There could be
really creative and interesting stuff. Are great.
Language tasks,
Been there for you, and you've all got the materials, so you can
fun activity.
take the ideas and games back to your school and develop them for your own students.
So here you can see the example of the
If you do have any more questions for Alena, please do put them in the chat box.
It is called
or put your hand up.
So we are
and you can always email Alena here on these 2 email addresses, Alena Chigrinova
at Gmail, and we
or
understand that the headless horseman wants his head back.
And so it's been great to have Alena coming to us all the way from Voronezh in Russia,
So they say, we want to
part of the Young Learner Conference from IH Voronezh-Linguist. I've been moderating Alena from Buenos Aires, so in a real international house effort today, and it's been great to have people from all over the world joining us today.
They keep one of the descriptions, for example, this one, and they go to your seats, and they have to read it
If you don't have any more questions, I shall stop the recording now.